Students, welcome to the second session on the background, introduction and works of the English playwright and poet William Shakespeare. Now we shall take over from where we had stopped in the previous video, the works of Shakespeare. To begin with, Shakespeare's two long narrative poems were among the earliest of his poetic writings. That is, Venus and Adonis, which was written in 1593, and the Rape of Lucrece, which was written in 1594. And there is yet another collection of poems called The Passionate Pilgrim, which appeared with Shakespeare's name, of course, on the title page. Of the constituent poems in this collection, only one had the name from the title of the book, The Passionate Pilgrim, and it has been decidedly fixed as Shakespeare's. That is, it was Shakespeare's poem, so it consists of some sonnets of unequal merit. Then, moving ahead, in 1609, a collection of Shakespeare's sonnets was printed by Thomas Thorpe, who dedicated the volume of these sonnets to certain Mr. W.H. The letters Mr. W.H. They were printed in the dedication part of this collection as being the only begetter of the sonnets, if we have to call it rightly. Then speculation has exhausted itself regarding the identity of this anonymous Mr. W.H. The most probable explanation is that he was William Herbert, that is none other than Earl of Pembroke. The sonnets themselves, they consist of 154 in number, which are all composed in the form of sonnet that of 3 quatrains, that is 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 1 couplet clenched to it, at the end. The entire collection falls in 2 groups of unequal size divided at number 126. Till 1 to 126, these set of poems are dedicated to one Mr. W.H. and it divides exactly at poem number 126 by a poem which consists of 6 couplets, that is 2 line of 6 sets. The first group consists largely of a series of cryptic references, that is the dedication which is addressed to one Mr. W.H. They refer to strange references, often passionately expressed, to his friendship with a youth apparently of high rank, who may be and probably is the mysterious Mr. W.H. Now the question comes, who is this Mr. W.H. who is so talked about in Shakespeare's sonnets? It is believed that either it was Shakespeare's very closest friend, or it was his homosexual partner, or maybe there is another possibility that this Mr. W.H. was his patron. Now, when we refer to the concept of patron, there was this practice of patronship during Shakespeare's time. So now let us have few glimpses on this practice of patronship itself. In literature, patronage refers to a system by which the king or a nobleman, that is some rich person or a noble man of a higher rank, afforded, and that person affords protection and livelihood to an artist, in return for which the artist pays him special honor or returns him service in the form of entertaining his household and his guests through his various artistic forms like singing, dancing, painting and all that. And each Elizabethan court usually had this habit of sheltering these kind of artists, and used to extend their system of patronage so that they would be given shelter, protected, and all their basic needs be fulfilled by these patrons. The great period for this system was the 16th century, that is in and around Shakespeare's time, but patronage continued to be an important cultural and social institution until the end of 18th century. Okay, it was extended till 18th century. So now coming to the next point, if we believe that this Mr. W.H. was not only Shakespeare's best friend, not only his patron, but also if he was considered to be his lover, a kind of homosexual lover, then that was also a possibility. But there was another concept at that age, especially during Shakespeare's age, and also Shakespeare's contemporaries like Sir Philip Sidney and Thomas White, these poets as well, and they too were sonneteers like Shakespeare. They had this famous concept called platonic love. Okay, so now let us see, and usually the object found in the poems, especially the sonnets of these poets during Shakespeare's time, the object of appreciation, the object of love, and the object of admiration used to be this one person who used to be the object of discussion in their poems. And who was this person? This person of discussion in their works was none other than this platonic lover. Okay, and who is this platonic lover? Let us look at this concept. What was platonic love, from where it originated, which these sonneteers extensively practiced in their works. Okay, actually the term platonic love has come to possess three distinct, if related, senses. The first meaning of it is a love between individuals which transcends sexual desire and attains spiritual heights. Okay, so there is absolutely no sexual contact between these lovers, who are most of the time homosexual. This is the most properly and popularly understood sense of the term. And the second way in which you can understand platonic love is that it is a complex doctrine of love which embraces sexuality as well, but which is directed towards an ideal end to be found and discussed in Plato's Symposium. Okay, and John Donne as well, in his poem The Ecstasy, explores this form of love. And the third reference to this homosexual love is expressed in W.H. Auden's suppressed poem The Platonic Blow. Okay, the third sense is derived from the praise of homosexual love to be found in the Symposium. Okay, so these dedications to Mr. W.H. are supposed to be the one who was not just Shakespeare's patron, but also maybe his platonic lover. Now coming back to the plays of Shakespeare, if we have to look at his famous plays, he is quite well known for most of his prolific plays. In some 20 years of his creative activity, Shakespeare wrote over dozens of comedies, then historical plays, then tragedies, then romances, then the long poems which I mentioned before, and a cycle of 154 sonnets. Okay, so now if we come to the plays, he wrote as many as 37 recorded and published plays, okay, in his name. Then we have these four famous tragedies of Shakespeare, that is Othello, Hamlet, then Macbeth, then King Lear. Okay, these are the famous four tragedies of Shakespeare. And Shakespeare also had few contemporaries who shared literary platform with him, and these people were Edmund Spenser, who is quite famous for his series of poems and sonnets under the banner of the Fairy Queen, which is believed to be dedicated to the then Queen Elizabeth. Okay, then you have Sir Philip Sidney, who is quite famous for his work Old Arcadia. Okay, then you had another contemporary of Shakespeare like Christopher Marlowe, who is known across the world for his landmark play Dr. Faustus. Okay, then there is this kind of if we take his play Hamlet, it remains most often the work, it's the most often quoted work of English literature and is Shakespeare's longest play. Okay, and if Hamlet thrives on its famous soul searching soliloquies. Okay, what is soliloquy? A single person's talk on the stage, and this talk is usually meditative in nature. It's like one is doing some introspection and talking to oneself on the stage. Okay, and such soliloquies are found in the play Hamlet, and it is also the case that their measured intellectual tones at times belies the pressing intensity of the character's emotions, and which is why too often Hamlet has wrongly been read as a play about a young man who could not make up his mind. Okay, and he Hamlet poses this famous philosophical and existential question, to be or not to be, which in common words it could be common man's translation of it could be to live or not to live, that is to live or to die. Okay, then moving on to the next text of Shakespeare, that is Macbeth, that is believed to be the shortest tragedy of Shakespeare. And Macbeth is the character Macbeth is the most guiltiest hero who discovers the roots of his moral being in a powerful poetic imagination. Okay, then I am quoting these things from Hamlet and Macbeth, keeping in mind that Shakespeare at times is rightly acclaimed as a psychologist in disguise of a playwright. Okay, so now you know who the real Shakespeare was, that he was not just a sonneteer, not just a poet, not just a playwright, okay, not just an actor, but he was more than anything. He delved deeper into the psyche of human mind, and what we today know in terms of yeah, systematic discipline called psychology and psychological studies, that Shakespeare had explored as long back as 16th century and 15th century, 16th century, when he was very much there as part of Queen Elizabeth's court. Okay, so I think that suffices us on the introduction to the poet William Shakespeare and some of his major and famous works.